Good morning, everybody. Hello. Good morning to you. As you can see, it's nice and bright outside. We were in here last night. We're in here again doing our thing. You know, I got a buddy at work. They gave his son 6 months to live. No shit. Yeah, that's what's going on right now. 6 months, man. It's just heartbreaking. And his wife's going to be around to take care of the kids and stuff. And what kind of life is that? I can't even imagine that. You know, a lot of us got genetic predispositions to certain things. High blood pressure, whatever, man. That was just in this steam room about 10 hours ago. I'm in it again because, you know, we all do what we can to slow down the aging process and try to stay in shape. But, you know, sooner or later we're going to lose that fight. You know, I grew up fighting everything, man. Everything. I'm going to do a video today. A lot of it's got to do with my book, what I want. You know, my coworker's son bothers me because it's just, you know, we act like we got a lot of time and we don't. You know, you never know. Sit here and act like we got all damn day. I don't know. Good morning, everybody. Good morning to you. So, hey, you know, one of my subscribers, oh, it's me, was asking me about Luis Moya and the IED that went off. And I got to get in before all the grifters get in. There are, in Zacatecas, there are certain, this happened right where I worked. And we're constantly working in between, more than anything, Zacatecas, Jalisco, San Luis Potosi, sometimes Durango, up towards the north. There are different states that surround Zacatecas, and because of the way that the borders are, I've said this before, you'll wind up working against criminal elements of other states or working with authorities in other states. So you're constantly in other states. And in any event, before grifters like jump all over this, I was just playing through this, going through this. There's Nacho Lozano on Imagen Noticias, which is Imagen News. And he's saying that this is municipal police, but right here there's IED Medios, which is right there in Zacatecas. They're saying that it's state police. So let's just have a quick look at this.
Y en Zacatecas otra vez policías municipales fueron emboscados esta tarde. Y fíjate, güey, fíjate.
So he's saying that municipal police were blown up.
Esto sucedió hace unas horas en el municipio de Luis Moya. Al parecer se trató de un ataque con explosivos de integrantes del crimen organizado contra policías municipales. Ningún oficial se reporta lesionado.
So just bear with me. This guy's right here saying that, and it's right here. He says it, otra vez, municipal police in Zacatecas, whatever. So this is one day ago. Let's listen to what it says.
State police officers aboard a patrol car were attacked with explosives in Luis Moya at noon this Friday. According to police sources, the officers were on their way to support colleagues in an alleged armed attack. However, while traveling on a dirt road, a mine exploded. Although the total number of police officers traveling in the vehicle is unknown, it is known that at least 2 suffered minor injuries. As for the vehicle, the front was damaged. In contrast to this information, the spokesperson for the State Peacebuilding Table announced at 9:15 p.m. this Friday that there were no injuries. The incident occurred when state police officers went to respond to a report in the vicinity of the municipal cemetery. Upon arriving at the scene, an explosion occurred that caused material damage to the official vehicle. Notably, the police personnel were unharmed, they specified. In addition, they attributed this attack against the corporation to retaliation for an incident that occurred a couple of days ago, when state police officers were attacked. They also seek to hinder the operational actions of the security forces in the area. Once the authorities arrived at the scene, they established a large cordon in the area due to suspicions that there could be more explosives buried. NTR Zacatecas.
So, getting into that, there's a lot to unpack there. First of all, everything is allegedly. You can't say anything. You can't even arrest someone with marijuana without describing it as vegetative material because you haven't tested it in a lab. There's a lot of legal mumbo jumbo that goes on. From what you can see, though, IED, which is right there, it's on Avenida Hidalgo right there in Zacatecas too. It's right downtown. There's different news sources that are right there. Apparently what happened was some of my brothers in arms, and I don't know if it was the Ejército, the Army, or the federal or state police, unalived several members, 7 of them, I think if I'm correct, of the 4-letter cartel just a couple days ago. And they planted a bomb with a body on top of it as bait right next to the municipal cemetery. And even Nacho Lozano from Imagen Noticias, which is conocido, which is known in Mexico. NTR has been publishing stuff in Mexico and Zacatecas since before I was even there. In fact, I even know people there that work for them. In fact, one of the guys that works for him even wanted to like hook up with my wife. I mean, I know these people extremely well. So I trust what they have to say. I'm saying all that to say this: if even local news sources, local to Mexico, not even the United States, can't get it straight whether it was municipal police that were attacked or state police that were attacked, how the hell is someone in the United States or even 2 countries away in Canada going to get it right? They're not. So that's kind of what I'm talking about. And I watch stuff like this, and oh, it's me. Shout out to you for pointing this out, man, because I hadn't even heard of it. What goes on in Mexico is you are never, ever, ever going to control drugs. And if you do control it with the government's going to allow it in other ways, like the CIA overlooking the widespread sale of crack cocaine so they can fund their war. This isn't supposition or anything like that. This is actual facts of what's happened here in the United States. The government that you vote for, the people that can't even make their beds and get up out of bed in the morning, shave or brush their teeth, vote for. The government that people that are lazy and don't want to work or fight against all the extra taxes that happen when you work a second job, vote for. That sit there and are paid to be dumb and sit at home on their ass. Or the people that are paid directly from the government, vote for, that you're forced to pay for out of your pocket. So, you know, I want you to just have a basic account of what's what. In Zacatecas, off the top of my head, right? Trusted news sources, because Zacatecas is one of the most violent areas in the entire country. You know, it gets overlooked a lot of the time because Cartel de Jalisco de Nueva Generación bears the state name Jalisco in it. But Zacatecas and Jalisco are literally like this, just like my fingers are right now. You can't go to one without going to the other. There's other areas around there too, other states, small states. Aguascalientes, which was part of the state of Zacatecas until General Santa Anna traded the entire state of Aguascalientes for a kiss. That's true. Look it up. Look, man, the way it works in Mexico is a lot of times the municipal police are not to be trusted. I myself have driven through Zacatecas going to a military zone, or driven through Jalisco going to a military zone in southern Zacatecas, and had some municipal police in Jalisco, and I forget what municipio it was or what little town it was, but we didn't know if we were going to get into a gunfight with the same municipal police that were telling us, right? That's the way that Mexico is. And there are a lot of human rights things that go on in Mexico too, you know, so you really don't know what you're dealing with sometimes. I mean, it's beyond sketchy. Even their own journalists, local to Mexico and local to Zacatecas, don't know whether it's the municipal police or state police. So how the hell some foreign tourist is shaking a little bit of butt is going to be sitting there being like, I've got the inside scoop on all these things, when you'd be just as dead as the next fool in a mass grave on the side of some road like this. And they did. They had that out there baited. You can look it up. You can look up Imágenes Televisa Azteca. That's a news source in Mexico, in Zacatecas. NTR, which is right here, NTR. That's another one. Televisa in Mexico, which was the biggest one in Zacatecas, has been shut down to a large extent, but that's another one. You've got El Sol, ELSOL, is another news source in Zacatecas. So all of these are like major news sources in Mexico that you can go and pull up these stories. You just type it in, Luis Moya, LUISMOYA, ZACATECAS. There you go, Luis Moya, Policía Estatal, and it'll come out. Milenio, Info TV 9. There's different ones, so you got to see where it's at. The Fiscalía General Jurídica del Estado de Zacatecas, that would maybe know it. So you got to go through these, but if you really want to know, you just go to your Google phone, go pull up whatever's in your phone as far as news agencies in Mexico and Zacatecas go. You can see which ones are there. You hit up their reporters because they're right there. And here's the curious thing. None of their reporters, and I know this because my wife's been a journalist working for them for years, none of their reporters are going to have inside access to the cartel stuff going on there. They will have access to the military. They will have access to the police. They will have access to the municipal police, state and federal. They'll have access to the ministerial police, but they will not have access to the cartels. And this is why I know that everything that's, or 90% of what's coming out of grifters' mouths is bullshit, because even the local journalists don't have the access that foreign journalists pretend to have. And when you do see foreign journalists, like I showed you on the other video with the dude that's hooking up with, what was it, the 97th Battalion of Infantry in, what is that, Guerrero? Yeah, I think it's the 97ª Infantería Batallón de Infantería in Guerrero. Almost certain that's what it was. Or the Filipino lady that came over from the Philippines, hooked up with the municipal police in Tijuana or Ciudad Juarez. You're never going to see foreign journalists, legit journalists that are on legit news stations that are attached to them professionally, hooking up with the cartel. It's not going to happen. And if it does happen, I challenge any one of those grifters to put a photo of them standing in front of an armed convoy like this, right here. You can see it right here, where they're down here.
Las cosas en Zacatecas están calientitas estos últimos días. Ya les compartíamos aquí lo que sucedió en Villa García,
One day ago,
donde se enfrentaron lacras
Luis
contra
Moya.
policías y dieron de baja a 7 delincuentes.
And he's saying that they attacked the
A
estatales.
raíz de eso, probablemente es lo que se especula, hubo un ataque de parte del cártel Jalisco Nueva Generación en contra de la policía estatal. Se viralizó.
So I'm going to get out of this. So right there, it's saying that yeah, they're exactly attacking my boys, my exact boys. So he had a picture on the front of this with the Cartel de Jalisco de Nueva Generación standing right there with all their arms and stuff. You're not going to see a picture of Katarina Schultz, Vincent Vargas, Sean Ryan, Joe Rogan, or any of these other pretenders out there in front of that, in front of those guys, because they would wind up dead as dog shit. You know, people ask me all the time, hey Dave, what did you see in Mexico? And like I was telling you, you know, there's mass graves there. There are. There's so much shit that goes on in Zacatecas that a lot of times when you run into shit, when you get back to base, you don't even say anything to your own brothers. That's the other platoon that you're working with, because you don't want them to be involved with anything that could potentially harm them or their wives or their family or anything. You know, hey Dave, why are you so open about this now? When I went to Mexico, I had a certain mentality, and now that I'm here, I still have that mentality of I'm not going to cede a single point or rendir or surrender in any way to people that sent me drugs and sent me to my doom as a kid. Get fucked. They talk about, yeah, really, I mean it too. They talk about you need to be careful what you say. They might burn you alive in a drum full of diesel oil. Yeah, you know what? They might someday. I might be visiting my pad in Zacatecas, which isn't all that far from here. It's right up here, right up this road. And if that does happen, yeah, it'd be extremely painful for like 2 or 3 minutes, and then I wouldn't feel anything. They have other people. That guy that just immolated himself in Washington, D.C. not long ago, a year or two ago. You know, there are a lot of different ways to go, but what I figured out about facing the cartel is they're only going to kill you once, man. And they're not sending you someplace you're not already going. So all you fucking people, you trolls, in the comment section, blow me, dude. It's for real. I'm probably going to have to edit that out, but no, I won't even edit it out. That's really how it is. You sit there in your stupid little house, where you grifters sit there in your stupid little television studios trying to make money or trying to talk shit online about something you got zero experience with. Zero, because you never had the balls to show up, suit up, and go out there and do it for yourself. But you're going to sit there and opine about all this shit online and try to make money off of it, shaking your tail, wearing skin-tight jeans, pretending like you're not fat or whatever your imperfections are. We all got them. I got them too. I'm right here. I'm not hiding any of it. I don't have to. So you run into Mexico and you're going to run and you're going to see a lot of things, man. And there are, I wouldn't go say overtly that it's corrupt. It is not corrupt. There are certain institutions that work there that are extremely sketchy or dangerous, or some people, some members are corrupt. But as a whole, they're not. And as a whole, they try to do the right thing and are very honorable people. There are other little details that I saw about when they were responding. For example, in one of these videos, in fact, I think it was on Nacho's video, I saw a boot where one of the people that was responding was wearing horseman's boots, which means that he was stationed over where the titular de juveniles, or the juvenile hall detention center is. There's a horse ranch there where all the mounted police are at. So he responded to that too. So there was kind of a large response to this. I noticed that. Just little things that you'll pick out. You can see, you know, maybe.
Y en Zacatecas otra vez policías municipales fueron emboscados esta tarde.
Y fíjate, güey, fíjate ya. Fíjate cómo. Se van a parar, güey. Se van a parar, güey.
Esto sucedió hace unas horas en el municipio de Luis Moya. Al parecer se trató de un ataque con explosivos de integrantes del crimen organizado contra policías municipales. Ningún oficial se reportó
Except it wasn't municipal police. We just found that out from 2 other sources.
Una zona de cultivos luego de que los uniformados buscaban a civiles armados que fueron vistos en la frontera con el estado de Aguascalientes. Y además sucede 2 días después de otra emboscada contra uniformados en el municipio de Villa García.
So that's not the one I was looking for. Whatever. There's one in here where you can see the boots from the guy that's responding is from the State Police Cavalry, which is their mounted police unit. So there was a lot of people there, man. And, you know, I watch this shit with these people going down and going to Jalisco to the camp that they had. And to be honest, I've been around that camp a gazillion times and never ran into it. Never even knew about it. But all of a sudden you have these cartel people that are in the know. Look, I don't know what I'm going to do with my channel going forward. I'm still going to continue generating content because it's enjoyable to me. I sent Ed and Eddie a couple little, they'll like them. They're little gifts. They weren't expensive. I got to get some more stuff out to them. But I like doing my videos because I have an experience with this that other people don't. But even right there, you have 2 major news sources in Mexico with contradicting information. One saying that it's municipal police, and the other that's right there local to it saying that it's state police. And then on top of that, apparently my brothers killed 7 of them, and this was a, I don't know, revenge attack because they killed 7 of their members. You know, Zacatecas, every time you go out of base, there's this concrete thing right there between the buildings, like a little bridge that goes between them. And I always touched it, just like I'm touching that right now. And I would touch it as soon as I got back, because you don't know what's going to happen, man. They might leave you laying there dead in the desert. Are there IEDs in Mexico? Generally not. Sometimes there are. Usually not. Sometimes they'll use grenade launchers and stuff like that to drop helicopters out of the sky, other things. So they are armed. Is it typical? No, it's not typical. But I mean, I watch Cartel de Jalisco, de Nueva Generación, come up in power. And they were there the entire time I was working there. But like I've said before, back then, the most powerful cartel, the most feared one by far, were the Zetas, without a doubt. Without a doubt. It wasn't even close. But you also, at the same time, don't know if there are members of the government working with certain cartels any more than you would know if there were members of the CIA, of this government, or the FBI working with external cartels, as they do this, or working with criminal felons, just like was on Ian Bick yesterday, talking about how they have an agreement. Whitey Bulger is a great example of that. Everybody knows about that story. So even the government in this country isn't the good guy. So I make that point to make this point. You don't know if one cartel is being helped for a certain reason or not. And a lot of people will talk about Zacatecas being the state of the Monreales, and it is. And the Monreales, and I can get in huge trouble for saying this, is a very powerful political family in Mexico, in Zacatecas in particular, with federal level senators, state level governors, obviously governors to a state. Before that, mayors, lawyers, all of this stuff, and they absolutely run Zacatecas without a doubt, and a lot of people do not like them. It's the way it is. There's a lot of political stuff going on in Mexico that should be paid attention to, and it's very a complex, sophisticated thing. El PRI and El PRD, or Moreno, and different political parties that are coming about, because Mexico is not a two-party system like we have here in the United States. There are several parties, and when you have several parties running this, there are a lot more complexities to how the government is run and how that affects the people on a federal, state, or municipal level. And in addition to that, or even a regional level too, because there's that too, some governments might be helping certain cartel factions and other governments might be completely against it. You don't know. So just to write it all off as corrupt or whatever, you can't do that just being like the entire government of Mexico is corrupt anymore. Then you can say the entire FBI is corrupt just because Peter, whatever his name is tweeting stuff against Trump. I mean, there's all this stuff going on. So when you're listening to something on Mexico, just bear that in mind, that it's not something that's easily going to be solved. You're not going to solve it with bullets. The best way to attack that problem more than anything is economic inversion, or to try to invest money in Mexico in the economy to build businesses and stuff like that, to where people don't feel like the only option they have to feed their family. And it is that serious, is to jump into a truck with a weapon or to stand as a lookout on the corner. That's absolutely the way it is. So hey, just to sum the thing up with Luis Moya, just so you guys know, it's always been like a problematic zone, man. There's Ojo Caliente down there. A lot of things that have gone on, and a lot of times states from Jalisco and San Luis Potosi would blame the Zacatecas government for us not doing our jobs there, even though it's always been like a problematic zone. There are tons of bodies there littered all over the place as far as like stuff that's gone down there. You know, and so just getting into that, about the entire thing going on in that area. You know, there were like 4 police members in the San Luis Potosi police right there that were just arrested for murdering 7 people and throwing them right there in Zacatecas. So that's like kind of like the type of place this is, man. And when you drive through it, you know, it's a beautiful place, man. It's San Luis Potosi's got like a lot of jungle to it, but there's pines and mountains there. It's kind of reminds me, certain portions of it remind me of like a logging camp in Oregon, to be honest. The pines in Mexico are a lot different, but it's a really beautiful place, man. So, you know, but when you have, and you can look it up, you know, I don't think Vincent Vargas or Katerina Schultz or any of your other grifter communities talked about this, but you know, you can look it up yourself. 4 police from San Luis Potosi just got arrested for executing 7 people and then leaving their bodies in Zacatecas. You know, so that's just like, that's what's going on, you know. That's Mexico. What do you want me to say? For executing 7 people and throwing their bodies right there on the border of Zacatecas. So there you go. Luis Moya, Ojo Caliente, and that whole thing down there. You know, when you work in Mexico, it's just a matter of time until you run into some shit. And you're going to be tested. You're going to see where you're at with everything. And there's more evidence of it. But what's not happening is some grifter reporter from out of town coming down and getting unprecedented access. Your ass is dog shit left right there in that field right next to those other guys. That's what would happen.